Hi everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Beyond Borders. For those that don't know, MSA Novo is one of the only global institutional funds systematically investing in emerging technology markets. And with Beyond Borders, we host the world's leading technology founders, game changers across all industry and sectors. And I'm super excited to have here with me Sabina, the co-founder and CEO of By Far. By Far is a designer lifestyle brand known for its universal fashion, timeless fashion as well, and timeless silhouettes, producing apparel, leather accessories, footwear, and fragrances. And it's one of the brands that we have really been very excited about in recent times. And I'm very excited to have with me Sabina, the co-founder and CEO of By Far. Sabina, I'd love to hear from you your story before By Far, and then maybe we can dig into how the brand came to be as well.
Sarah, thank you so much for inviting me. I feel very honored, and I must admit, this is my first podcast ever. So it's very exciting to be doing it with you. Um, my story is that all my life I have been extremely passionate about fashion as topic, and I have been, reading the history, all the journals, all the magazines, all the key opinion leader is someone that I look up to all my life. And one day when I finished my studying, I had my first kid, I decided it's time to fulfill my dream. Um, After having your first kid, I think a woman becomes very, you know, empowered. Now you know you can do everything, and this is when we decided it's time to fulfill this dream, and without no expectation, just do what we love, do fulfill our dream. And we had a very particular dream is to how do we cater to the customers that who we are, and we didn't look ourselves as a customers. We looked at how to create a beautiful shoe line that we look up to in the market and we couldn't find. So this is where we wanted something unique, something niche, something and I we would have seen this kind of brand in, I don't know, in the men market, but we couldn't find it in the women's market. I was living back then in London. My partner was living and co-founder Danny. She was living in Sydney, in Australia, and we just couldn't find what we were looking for. And one day we got together and we decided let's fulfill our dream. My partner has an amazing and unique vision, and I wanted to make her vision come true to reality. And this was my part, and her part was to describe this vision where, you know, it was not described before.
Yeah. So
But
it
the
really started with a necessity or with a challenge that you experienced. And tell me more about that. So what in footwear specifically did you struggle with? Why did you first think of, so we know that By Far has now expanded into apparel and accessories and fragrances, but why was footwear that pain point where you and your partners, collectively said, okay, it's time to establish a brand that really fits into that culture?
We are girls that are international girls that have access to everything that there is. And we really appreciate luxury. We want to treat ourselves, but we don't want to treat ourselves in the way that you get completely broke at the end of the month. You know, you buy one thing and that's it, it's over. But then, even if you fulfill your desire to buy this extremely expensive thing, many times it is uncomfortable. This is
Yeah.
what we were finding. So you would need to wear a shoe maybe a month or two before it becomes suitable for your feet. So we came from that moment. We wanted luxury. We wanted, and we understand luxury because we were the consumer of luxury.
Yeah.
We wanted to, and then we wanted to create something that is has great history of craftsmanship here in Bulgaria. So this is the path we went to
Okay.
to look up for something that we couldn't find, but in the environment that would be suitable to create.
And I recall that in our previous conversation, you also said that you really started from scratch. So you had, no idea of how the fashion industry works, from retail to
No,
production. So tell me a bit more about how you were able to really crack that code and figure out, okay, how do we start making shoes? How do we design them? And then how do we take them to market? So how was that journey for you?
I think first is was to be very clear that ego should be aside. All what you imagine a creative job to be, to start completely without no expectation, just go for it. And then what really I think made us successful is the amazing network of people that help us out, because we were reaching out to random people on Instagram, random people just finding websites and reaching a random friend of a friend of a friend to ask for simple questions. How do you create a shoe? How to find a factory? What's the process like? And I was so surprised to see extreme amount of people who were helping us, which I didn't expect. I was expecting maybe reach out to 50 and maybe one to help, but actually it was maybe or two didn't help, but all the rest were really interested to the story. They were just loving to help. That's it, and to support. And then we
Yeah.
got into the Endeavor network, which is like, it's the essence of the network to help young entrepreneurs with little skills but big talent, and to help them to create a special moment.
I really love seeing brands that have really community at their foundation. So like you said, I mean, you grew and you scaled because of community. So I'd like to maybe talk about the fashion industry in general before we dig into the brand itself. So um, when you're building a business from a business side, how are you able to balance creativity versus, we need to sell, we need to generate revenues, we need to be profitable and cover our expenses. So, how are you able to meet that middle ground of, okay, we want to create an accessible luxury brand because this is essentially what By Far is. It uses excellent materials, but at the same time, the prices are accessible. And like you said, you don't have to break the bank to
Mhm.
really purchase any of your products. So um, definitely you're a creative, but also you are a businesswoman and entrepreneur. So how were you able, especially in the early days, to try to balance the
Mm.
artistic side with the financial side?
So I think as every startup, we start in the same way. It doesn't matter, is it an IT business, is it a fashion? I think we all start in the same manner. One person is doing everything, and this is how it's possible to be profitable. And were profitable since the day one, like immediately, because we were extremely smart and careful on how do we invest, where do we invest, how do we invest, and what can we do with our own skills that can create an impact. And I think we're just extremely fortunate because my partner, she's extremely creative in to create a design, and she's obsessive about the details, the leather, the shine, the texture of the leather. How do you rely completely on your own to create something that is a true luxury, where in currently we have big teams who support her, who create, but it's just what she was doing in the beginning on her own. Now we have like a team of 10 people who supports her, but it's also into adjusting into this journey, because first you start on your own, and of course this is not sustainable. You need to ask for wonderful talents to come in and join, and you need to convince them because it's a startup. It's not something like working for Burberry.
Yeah.
Or other beautiful brands who have organized structures and everyone knows their responsibility. Here is everyone is doing everything.
Definitely. And again, you went back to team, and I think as VCs as well, we also invest in early stage startups. So especially in startups in their very early days, that first team that you have and that you hire, and we always say this to many of the startups that we're also mentoring, is your first team are essentially all your co-founders. They are the people that establish the foundations of the business, the culture, the systems, and these can all be changed, right? But it's sort of your first steps into every different space in your business. So walk me a bit through how when you first started, what came first? Tell me about your first collection. Was it okay, let's look at the market trends and try to build our brand around that? Was it vice versa? How do we go to market? So where do you start, or how did you start? I'm sure now you have different systems in place, and you're more, well aware of this space. But for all those, I would say young founders that are very keen to establish their brands as well, um, walk us through how your thought process was in the beginning.
It actually didn't change. It's absolutely the same process right now. We just had it intuitively in us because we were the chasers as a consumer. We were the one that were chasing the information
Okay.
without even having a business intention. We had all information in us. So we just formed this in a business sense because we were so, as I shared, we were so passionate. We knew on all multi-brand fashion platforms what they carry, what brands they carry, what was exciting, what was not so exciting, what was something that we were seeing different and it were exciting us, and we were seeing that it was sold out very quickly. We were looking into what the it girls were wearing. We knew why they would wear this, and it's like having an organic expertise in something without actually being an expert at all. Of course, we were learning. Once we got into it, we learned even more. But because we were so passionate about it, we knew. So it's my advice for everyone who starts. It's um, really, really scrape the internet. Scrape, you don't need to be even in a particular city. It would be very good if you are based in these beautiful metropolitan cities like London, Paris, Dubai, New York, LA, so on and so on, because you feel the community. You can feel what the cool girls are wearing, what me when I'm looking at these cool girls, what how they inspire me, and I look up. Maybe I will not wear completely what they're wearing, but I would want to pick up one, two things from them because they inspire me to do it. So just culturally scrape what is happening nonstop and scrape what in a business sense is happening in multi-brand stores, in what people are feeling passionate, and it's non-stop. This is our reality right now. Even we are doing this on a constant basis. We try to keep up with what creatives are creating, even from photography point of view, film, books. It's like it's a huge database of information, and you just need constantly to be wired to it and digest it into your own way. And this is the inspiration. This is why even Danny, my partner, doesn't like the question, what inspires you in this particular collection, because she feels inspires constantly. It's non-stop being wired to this information, digest it, and create something that is through her perspective. And this is non-stop.
That's very true, because as I was reading as well, I was looking that um, years and years ago, when you had a single trend, that trend would stay with you for 10 to 20 years.
Mm.
A trend really sits there. and is really
Mhm.
immersed. And nowadays, a trend sits for an average of 20 days. So it's just
Mhm.
crazy to see that comparison. So again, inspiration is always there. And then I'm sure, like Demi does, is she absorbs some of these inspirations here and there and then reflect it into the collection. So really, time is key. So I wanted to ask you, Sabina, with all this research that you're constantly doing and then your team is constantly doing. So what I find very interesting nowadays when you look at consumers. So we have Gen Z and millennials are essentially, they are the main factors why the luxury goods market has grown over the past year in specific. So they're very influential in this space, and the majority of luxury consumers are now Gen Z and millennials, basically, and they're the
Mhm.
ones that are constantly picking up these trends with social media, with all that's happening in the digital space, and when we're comparing consumers, I would say 15 years ago compared to now, this younger generation is buying luxury goods 3 to 5 years earlier than millennials and Gen Zs did years and years ago. And I think it's primarily because of how influential these trends have become. Everyone
Mhm.
wants to be part of this trend. You have payments as well, has made it much easier for people to have
Mm.
access to these luxury goods. So a
Mm.
lot of factors have really influenced the space. But I wanted to ask you, from your opinion and from your research as well that you do with the team, how do you see people shopping luxury today is different than people shopping luxury 10 years ago? What are some key trends and insights you've seen?
I was very much influenced by trends. I was maybe pretending that I'm not, but I was very much influenced by trends. And they were driving my desire, they were driving my obsession, even though I maybe didn't admit it. Now I feel trends are in a social media sense, they're there, but from a purchasing perspective, I feel like consumers are much more mindful than how it used to be. I feel now when we invest, we're looking at an investment rather than just a purchase like it used to be. It used to be purchase and then, yeah, maybe you would at some point start selling it on vestiaire, participating to the circularity of the product life cycle, but it's not as it is right now. Now it's both very much strong, I think, and this is how we calculate that also our product desire continues to be desirable because it's very desirable on this platform too. It's not only first purchase, then our lovely consumers are reselling it to different reselling platforms and it's still very much desired. So I would say, I think customers became even more aware and more careful. So this is why craftsmanship is very important, even in a very modern brand like us. We we don't talk about it, but actually we're very much careful on product materials, expertise in leather picking, so it's durable. It's not 1, 2 season. It's actually durable. We work with amazing Italian factories. We really invest into the process of making our product durable and it could last a lifetime. But we don't talk about it because we're a more youthful angle. But I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I feel like customers are. It used to be. I think people used to think that it was before like that, but now I think it's more an investment process when we buy, and we're just not buying, just for the buying like we used to. I'm more mindful, and this is how we create our collections. We are mindful of what it. So it's trendy, but it's not super trendy. It doesn't feel like fast fashion. It looks like it should feel like something that you can wear for a very long time and it still will feel modern.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. because I think at some point we were all sucked into that, let's say, phase, especially when you're living in big cities. I feel that because all of these different trends started to change so fast, so when it comes to investment, it just didn't become sustainable anymore because these
Yeah.
trends, I remember when there was this Gucci sneaker epidemic years ago, and everyone was wearing these sneakers, and then, in a matter of year, they became very untrendy to wear. So when consumers start to see how fast luxury goods are also deteriorating, I think that's when everyone started to become more aware of sustainable fashion. When it comes to investments, I feel like the financialization of the fashion market has really turbocharged the trend of luxury fashion as well. So now consumers will buy expensive luxury goods, not simply based on the brand, but also thinking of the future expected resale values. But I also want to hear your opinion on that, on the handbag market and how it's turned into an investment.
It is, and I can see this trend, and this is why we're really focused on circularity, partnering with these platforms, and I think girls became very smart. I think though they have this first trigger of, passion and desire, I want this, then they take a lot of time. And we see this on our website. Same girl is, or same type, because we don't see the full screen of
Mm.
the customer, but we see it's repetitive, enter, exit. So they're thinking, they're asking questions to the customer care, size, materials, like really, really digesting this, and then they're making the purchase. And I think if that was the question, I think investment value really matters. And this is why I'm saying that we steer away from too trendiness, because too trendiness, it's very short term venue, um, and but mass, as you said, sometimes when it's too desired, it become a little bit off putting. We want always to keep on having the perspective of the community that we are a niche brand. Even if our dreams one day will come true and we will become a massive brand, we still, I think, the strategy to keep the vision niche, to keep the perspective niche, because otherwise you're not special. Because this is why we're saying our product is for very intelligent girls, because they need to search for us. We are not easily findable good. We are not everywhere. There is no mass advertisements across social media, outdoor. So you need to find us to purchase us. And
Yeah.
it's quite, an inside thing. The way we used to buy fashion is like, I was looking for this brand. I want, and it was so hard to purchase them. And now it's much easier when it was back then 10 years ago. But yeah, this is the
Yeah.
strategy that we're following. And I would recommend this strategy for every new and current brand to follow.
Yeah, I like that because that also goes back to smart investment. I mean, you're again not breaking the bank when you're purchasing these products. It's luxury, but it's also quiet luxury. Prices are accessible. You, I think I liked what you said when it comes to desire, but not a brand that you can easily find. It's an accessible brand, but you can't easily find it. So that's a very
Yeah.
smart marketing approach, I think, is, creating that scarcity. And then once you find it, not everyone will easily find it. I mean, before we go into, I want to speak about your consumers specifically as well and global expansion. But before we jump into that, um, tell me from a marketing perspective and from a business perspective, how are you able to match your quality with the prices? So when it comes to pricing and pricing models, how do you make these decisions? Is it based on consumers, their purchasing power, how you want to portray your brand? So generally, walk us through the minds of these different brands and how pricing really plays a role.
Mm-hmm. So first, it always starts with what Dani would want as a materials because she has extremely high requirements. So they need to be very particular, very luxurious. Particular, I mean, in the quality sense. In a creative sense, there are no boundaries. She's looking for the new vision non-stop. But I think how we managed to achieve this is our vendors are like our family. We're working with family-based businesses. We sit down. They're like our mentors. It's such a attached and special relationship because we show them our vision. It might be a sketch, it might be, something that maybe Dani would verbally describe what she wants to create, and she would say maybe what she imagined the materials to be. And then these amazing craftsman people would work, and they really enjoy this because maybe with more bigger brands, it's more of a they give them what they want and they just do it. And with us, it's they're part of this journey. We talk to them, they're really passionate for by far, and they advise us as they are our father or grandparent or a brother if it's a younger person, and they were like, let's do it this way, let's do it. So it's a very hand in hand process with them, and this is how we achieve it. There is no secret actually. It's people special connection and their mentorship because they have been doing this for decades and decades. It's many frequently it's a business that was handed to them from previous generations, and it's just they breathe this, and they know how to make it the way we want it to be, and they know what is our price range, and this is how it happens. It's very
Yeah.
simple.
360
Sometimes
community
we,
again.
yeah, it's 360 communities. The customers, these girls that are very passionate, they text us on Instagram. They sometimes they give us ideas under a post, and it's a very community driven thing.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the fine line between making a brand and having your consumers actually be a community rather than consumers, and then the difference between, big brands and these mass purchases and commercial relationships. So when you do really have a community-based relationships across your entire supply chain, that really makes it. Let's talk a bit more about global expansion. So by far is in many, many markets. Like you said, there aren't physical stores everywhere. It's more of a retail chain. You work with different distributors, and you have online channels. So I'd like to learn more about your being a global brand, about your consumer diversity and scale, especially in emerging markets. So especially when we're looking at markets like the Middle East, like China. So I wouldn't say non-cosmopolitan markets, but markets that have a very focused culture or a very focused consumer segment. So tell us a bit more about how you expanded globally, how you studied markets, and a bit about your biggest consumers from these geographies.
we we didn't study it a lot, honestly. It was we were following the desire, and we were following the girls that we know. Um, as I we were talking previously, girls like me and you, we study in London. Then we would go to maybe back home, or we will go to study maybe few years in Paris or in Sydney or in Milan. Like these type of girls, we follow this type of girls. We don't really, have a goal in the beginning when it was
Yeah.
like simply growth through our partners, through our luxury department stores and influential boutiques. It was following their customers, which is our community, and trying to be there where we know we would find our community. This was
Okay.
something just, and I would advise, young entrepreneurs to. It's important to be informed, to do your own research, but not to waste too much time, because some you need to try, and then find, and it will just follow one option, two option, third option, and then it will become a reality. And now, when we are a little bit more grown ups, is when we do the research and we do the very calculated, careful decisions. We found an amazing partners in separately in Asian Pacific region, country by country. We're more overlooking not only from a business perspective, but we're trying to find a partner that really understands the brand, because it's very easy to break something that you have been built, uh, and, um, and you can break it if you don't understand it. Because when it's so new, when you say Hermes, Gucci, you know what it is about. I think very easily, but for us, it's we need to explain. We need to. This is the same conversation with the investors. We're looking for someone who really understands by far, because if you've never heard of it, or you have no connection, it's extremely hard to work together, because there is something that is, there is like our magic that is hard to explain, and you sometimes need just to understand it without
Mhm.
explaining it.
I think it's more of a what, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we are trying to portray is that by far and similar brands are more of a lifestyle brand. It's your,
Yes.
go-to for a timeless capsule wardrobe, for functionality as well, and for accessibility. And definitely, I think that I see with market trends are heading there. Um, so what I wanted to also ask is, when it comes to sustainability strategies, how are you able to, again, feed into the circular economy? You mentioned also that you try to create functional pieces with high quality materials so that you're really able to use them for multiple years, and wear them out. So what's your role when it comes to sustainability as a brand?
Mm. Um, a few years ago, we even did a study with EY on our sustainability processes and future strategy. And we concluded one thing is that we are as sustainable as it can be from the beginning, because we were just, this is the way we started. There was nothing to change. There was nothing to have as a problem. When you start in that manner, there is almost nothing to be done further, because it is what it is. There is a cap to what is available out there.
Yeah.
But we were, in the beginning, we tried to implement as much as possible dead stock ladder. We tried, as I shared with you, we have a very family oriented relationship with our amazing factories and vendors. And it's like when you work in this sense, and these factories, they have the same morals. They use only certified materials, extremely careful in their, process picking. They are so, like, they're treating their employees like their families. It's just it's a industry standard, when you work with such people, when you have such perspective of the work, it's
Mm.
almost nothing to be changed. Even we had uh, uh, the packaging is sustainable. Every we non-stop try to minimize the impact. Try to, things that really frustrates me when I receive a package from somewhere. Lots and lots and lots of paper, unnecessary things that it's better to have more a minimal approach. Yes, it's still luxury, but not necessary things like that. We did lots of custom boxes, so we don't ship just air, things like that. We are just really,
Yeah.
because we're a hands-on team, everyone has this mindset and where everyone has this culture, it's extremely effortless and very, even without saying it, we know what we want, we know what we're looking for, and we're doing it. We've done numerous replay collections with Vestiaire Corrective, with Note. These are reselling platforms that not only we resell, or also we try to make it as easy as possible for our clients to resell their products. So we just, because it's frustrating for us, something to end up just to be thrown away. We never throw away nothing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think less is more is something that will always apply. And I feel like when, especially when I speak to different brands and different companies, sustainability is also very important when it comes to consumers. So if you have
Mhm.
consumers that are sustainably conscious, then um, by default, if they're purchasing from you, then that also feeds into your sustainability circle, right? So if I were to buy, for example, a fast fashion item, wear it once or twice, I wouldn't feel bad leaving it in my closet or, just never using it and, constantly going into that consumer loophole. But when I do buy something that has more of a hefty price tag, so whether it's accessible luxury or high-end luxury, if you don't use that product, you still feel bad. So
Mm.
subconsciously you're forced to wear it or gift it, or you need to find a function for it because you've actually invested in it. You're not gonna just let it sit there. um and especially with a brand like By Far, I feel like looking at your collection, it's very timeless. You have these timeless silhouettes, very simple as well, so you're able to create these capsule wardrobes. So I think that that also feeds back into your consumers and what they're looking for. So I want to wrap this up, but on an interesting note. So I just wanted to ask you, I've always been curious as well. So what does By Far mean? Where did the name of the brand come from?
It comes from in the initiatives of our kids, our first sons. So it's Philip, Alec, and Roman. So it's made by love. And in Eastern Europe, we say it's bad luck, but actually we feel, we were like, no, our kids cannot be bad luck. So this is how it was created. And it's such a beautiful phrase, by far, because
Yeah,
even I think it sounds a little bit Middle Eastern, but it's like, I don't know, it's very catchy and easy, and the moment it came up to our mind, we were like, okay, this is it.
yeah,
It's by love. This is what we wanted
I know.
to say with this name.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I never thought of, Far was the names of your kids. So that's definitely gives me a new way to look at the name. So my last two questions. So first of all, if you were to define By Far in one word as a brand, what would it be?
By far, I think it's not one word. I know we did this exercise numerous times, but if I may say it with few words, if you
Go ahead.
give me this chance, I think it's an It Girl brand, and I think it's this luxury for everyone. This is it.
Okay. How do you define luxury?
Special craftsmanship and uniqueness.
I like that. I asked someone from a very different generation on how they define luxury, and the first thing he said was craftsmanship, something that is handmade by an artisan. And then I asked someone else, someone that's younger than much younger than our generation, and I asked them, how do you define luxury? And they said expensive. So it's just
Mm.
really, fascinating to see the perception of luxury from two different generations. But I definitely agree with the craftsmanship. Um, Sabina, this has been an absolutely great conversation, and I definitely look forward to having many more. Usually, on Beyond Borders, we speak a lot about tech startups, different technical sectors, but we never
Mhm.
really speak about fashion. We speak a lot about retail and e-commerce, but it's the first time that we dive into fashion and the creative space. So I'm very glad that this was the first and definitely not the last. And thank you so much for being on Beyond Borders with us today.